Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I am Precious Chukudi. Of course, thank God it's Friday. I mean, I'm sure most people really love the weekend more than anything else. But then again, let's start off with the front pages of the paper. Looking at Vanguard this morning, it says the UK insists on terror alert as major mall shut operation. The writer says FCDA reclaims the Wari Law School land. FCDO advises Petition National against traveling to FCT 13 states. Alleged rape of Trademore Estate by DSS. American soldier force. That's come from FCT police. Abuja safe. FCT minister declares. I expect Buhari to stop million-man marches. That's come from Professor Akinyemi. Insists Nigeria lacks capability to pick intelligence reports like US. After Nigeria, US issues alerts to terror attack in South Africa. We can see a photo story showing Buhari meets South Korea's speaker. And why federal government is keeping Nnamdi Kanu despite court ruling. That's coming from MALAMI. You can see that story on page 11. On page 6, Warri Refinery will deliver fuel first quarter of 2023. That's coming from federal government. Trapped foreign airlines fund rise 51% to $700 million. Flood hinders petrol distribution in Abuja as vessels discharge in Lagos. You can see that on page 3. On Encounter today, we have how police DPP's negligence kept 23-year-old mechanic in prison for 9 years. I suffered for nothing. That's what the victim is saying. Also, we have NDDC. Aqua must account for 300 billion naira contract awarded without due process. That's coming from Umana. Insecurity. Commuters grown as criminals take over Otupo, Aliade, Makodi Road. Zenith Bank gross earnings up 20% to 620.6 billion naira in quarter 3 2021. Pension fund investment to corporate security rise 43.9% to 1.4 trillion naira. We have Nigerians can't keep borrowing to fund agencies with duplicated functions. That's coming from REP. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, MMIA concession. Aggrieved bidder sues two foreign firm, federal government. You can see that story on page 7. Let's take a look at The Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with terror alert. Parties in a fix over call to halt campaigns. The writer says UK cautions citizens against traveling to Abuja. Akinyemi NSA should warn politicians. We won't stop our rally, says LP. APC, PDP, we are studying situations. We have stories about flood claims will be over 1 trillion naira, says insurers. And we have names of NDDC board members before Senate. You can see that story on page 4. And we can see a photo story. Sanwo-Olu proposes a 1.69 trillion naira budget of continuity. $1.5 billion Lekki Deep Sea Port ready for test run. You can see that story on page 4. Oyetola Makinde kick off reconstruction of Oshogbo Iwo Ibadan Road. You can see that on page 5. And lastly, on the front page of The Nation newspaper, we have NNPCL, Daewoo Group, sign MOU on Kaduna refineries. All right, let's take a look at The Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with terror threats, arrest of suspects, UK's updated advisory heightened fears in Abuja. The writer says Abuja mall shuts down operation DSS mom. FCTA reclaims law school land. Political parties should suspend mass rallies, says Akinyemi. Abuja is safe. FCT minister declares. Stop grandstanding. Work with Pentagon to respond to security advisory. Don't tells federal government. We can also see a photo story showing ASU federal government face off, counting the toll as more cleanups, repairs needed in schools. You can see that story on pages 4 and 5. Naira redesign. CNPP Lord's plan as EFCC talks stuff on vote buying. On page 3, we have a Sanwo-Olu prioritizes human capital, environment, infrastructure we propose a 1.69 trillion naira budget, and that's how we can take on the front pages of the Guardian. Let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with a terror alert. Federal government detains 35 suspected ISWAP fighters. Tension heightens. The writer says UK issues fresh alert. IG releases emergency phone numbers, calls for vigilance. FCTA demolishes shanties. Jabi shopping mall shuts. Other facility tightening security. Air Force to take delivery of additional fighter helicopters in December. That's coming from CAS. Lagos recruit 423 firemen, boost firefighting capacity. On page 4, we have Chidima transferred 5 million naira from Ataga's account. That's coming from Witness. On page 35, Lagos Delta Cross River presents a 2.58 trillion naira budget. Flood threatens a 1.9 trillion naira CBN agri scheme. Losing mounts. Stories above. You are wrong, Tinubu, not selfish. That's coming from Onanuga. Replies Kintoye. Federal government opens talk with investors on Lagos Calabar Rail. Airline spends $192 billion on Jet A1 report, and that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers this morning. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chukudi. Joining me to talk about some of the stories on the front page of the papers this morning is Mr. Oludare Mayowa. He is the publisher of Global Financial Digest. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you join me this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, so let's delve into our stories this morning. And the UK government, has insisted on its terror alert, despite assurances by the federal government that the country was safe. Also, we're seeing that a major mall in the FCT has shut its operation as a result of this terror alert. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, when we look at the combine of the UK and the US terror alerts on Abuja, the city of power, I think the government should take it very seriously. These are superpower that has more intelligence than Nigeria, the local security agency here. And I believe that the rate the country is going. Look at what happened to Kuje prison last time. It was invaded, over 400 inmates were released, and they are not being recovered till now. Government has not done anything to curb security in that city. We have had incident of ambush of the leader of guards, of the president guards, and many of them were killed. Even the Minister of Defense NSA was saying that they dismissed them. That means that there are many that were killed that were not exposed. That shows the laxity on the part of our security, and I think that government should sit up and take us. Once they successfully attack the federal capital, then nowhere in this country is safe again. So I will ask the government, I will implore the government to stop and to deploy, to assure the residents, the internal community, of the security and safety of lives and property in the federal capital and the entire country. That's the only way we can increase investment. That's only we can gain the confidence of foreign investors to invest in this country. So for me, they were right. Although I want to look at it from another perspective, really. But in terms of security, based on our experience in Nigeria, these internal communities are right, and government should take the alert serious rather than debunking or mocking them.
Also speaking on the terror alert, we have a former external affairs minister, that's Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, and he was asking the president to put a stop to the ongoing million-man political marches that could, easily be attacked by terrorists. Do you agree with what he's saying? I mean, this is the campaign season. What do you think about what Professor Akinyemi is saying?
I think what is more important to the country today is security of lives and property. Electionary campaign and the rest could wait. We must treat the situation as an emergency for us as a country. It's when we have a country, it's when we have ensure that they tackle and arrest and round up all the people behind the security in this country. And that's the way it should be treated. So it is not time for rendezvous, political tambourine, and 10 million march, and all those facades that characterize political campaign, electionary campaign in this country. Professor KB is right, and government should take the issue seriously and stop every other activities that could put people in jeopardy, that would lives in jeopardy. That is exactly what a serious government should do.
All right. Nigeria has basically been experiencing terrorism for the longest. Now, there was a time, the government had said that they were going to, name and shame, the external forces behind terrorism. And, that was the end of the story. We never got to hear more about that story. They said they were going to release their names and whatnot. What do you think, basically, about, the fact that we've not been able to nip insecurity in the bud?
Yeah, thank you very much. Don't forget that there are speculation here and there about the people behind the terrorism in the country. Many are saying that some key officers of this present government are involved. Don't forget that we have had many of conspiracy theory here and there, and we cannot ignore them any longer. Many people have said that there's no possibility that the election will hold next year. That has been the word that word has been very prominent in our own lexicon in recent time. That should show us that there's something that is not open to the public, and that means that because I remember the story what they attributed to the Sonny Abacha, head of state of Nigeria. If a banditry or terrorism extends beyond 2 weeks, that means government is aware of it. That means that we are not doing enough as a nation to contain the activity of terrorism in this country. And if you have this prolonged terrorism attack across the nation, and it's not abating, and government is not to be really decisive about it. How many of them have been tried? How many of those who have named? We can't believe government again about their program that we name and shame. You know people are behind this thing, the opposition are behind this thing, and they have not arrested anybody. Seeking to show to the world that they are actually want them to prosecute it. That means something is wrong with the government system or some strategy of fighting the terrorism in this country. And that we must be taken seriously. So we not take it for granted that government is saying they have this, they have that, they are doing that. Yet the serious is escalating. In a serious situation, government should declare a state of emergency across the nation on insecurity and tackle that first before we are talking of election or no election. No, people are speculating that this government may want to hand over to because they don't want the northern, they want to hand over to the southerner. If there is a possibility that the northern will take over the government in 2023, they may use the issue of security to thwart the election. These are the conspiracy theories that have been going around. And government has not done enough to debunk these theories that have been flying all over the place. That means there's some element of truth behind some of those speculations. And government has a responsibility to debunk them, to go ahead and show that none of these speculation or theories are true. And they should do something to assure the nation that the security and lives and property is very essential, it's paramount to their heart, and they are doing something about it.
All right, let's move ahead and talk about this one. And that's despite the fact that the court ruling has said that Nnamdi Kanu should be freed and should also be paid 500 million naira as compensation. The federal government, is saying that he cannot be freed on the account of 4 major issues, which are the rule of law, national security, national interest, and accounts of international diplomacy. What are your thoughts on this one?
The issue of Kanu and IPOD is very complicated, and I can't blame the government for holding on to him. He said that number one, he is not repentant. I'm not seeing probably remorsefulness on the part of him and his group and the rest. And despite the court ruling too, all over the world, government can hold anybody for arbitration, for what they call national security concern. And they don't have to give any reason for that. And government has the power to hold anybody in detention for as long as they keep that. It may be a political persecution or notwithstanding, but it's the capacity. Once they throw into the the ring the issue of national security, then people have to be cautioned on how to go about it. So for me, I think the issue of Kanu and iPod, I think the elders from the southeast and some leaders of thought in Nigeria should actually win in, engage the young man in conversation that it is all right to wage war against your country and reach a compromise. Otherwise, this might not solve the problem or which they have been accused of, really. So for me, I will side with the government for still holding him.
All right, let's move ahead and talk about this one. And the House of Rep has said that Nigeria's high debt profile was consequence upon loans obtained to fund government agency with duplicated functions. What do you understand? What's your take on this one?
Yes, this is a very open secret. We know that our government spending on government, government expenditure running of government is damn expensive. Let's take it from the point of 10 fleets of aircraft in government presidential fleets. What are we doing with that? These are the drain on the economy of this country. If you look at if you analyze the structure of our budget for this year and next year, you will understand that we are borrowing money to pay salary, we are borrowing money to service debt, we are borrowing money to fund government extravagance living. And those money are not being borrowed to develop the economy. We're not borrowing money to build roads, to build airports. That's exactly what we are saying. Government need to restructure its finance to ensure that all the leakages, all the corruption, all the loopholes are blocked, so that Nigeria can move forward. What we are seeing today is that they pay lip service to all of these things we're talking about. We are funding moribund government that we ought to have sold off and use the money to develop the economy. We are seeing, for example, NNPCs is still maintaining paying salary for refineries that are not working, they're not producing anything. So what are we doing? So what are we borrowing? So it means that government is not on top of its finance. And that shows the negligence or the competence of this government in handling finance of this country. That's why we're having a debt mounting. So there's a need for government to restructure its finance to ensure that all posts are blocked, to ensure that all leakages in terms of corruption, in terms of wastages are blocked, so that we can streamline our finance and ensure that we are living according to our code, according to the size of our cloth. That's exactly for me the solution to all what we are talking about.
All right, let's quickly take Mr. and Mrs. before we go. Mrs. is speaking, says new redesigned Naira notes will soon replace the current ones. The money you hid under the carpet, jacket pockets, flower vases, etc. have been discovered totaling 150,000 Naira. And if I ask you for money, you will say you are broke. And Mr. says, ha, what about the dollar notes under the mattress?
That secret is coming open, so
yeah,
he had to recover quickly before he lost everything to his wife. The women are like FBI. They are more, they are bigger than FBI. You can't do anything. You can't hide anything from them.
I was going to ask you what you think about the redesign of the Naira notes.
Yes, I don't extensively report on the whole thing. For me, it's wrong timing.
Okay.
Sometimes the cost of printing the money, the Naira note, is huge on the economy. Can the economy bear it? And we are not seeing it any kind of impact going to have add value to the economy. And because we are trying to do election, and few months of election, we are trying to change our currency. Yes, some of the good side of it is that it will come vote buying, because the position has stock Naira the note in the house. You have to bring them out for new note and the logistics. Then probably all the ransom money stuck in the bush might come out, and probably that's the high point, but the timing is wrong. That's my own view about that one. So he has his own positive side of it.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Oludari Mayowa, publisher of Global Financial Digest. Thank you for sharing your thought with us this morning.
Thank you for having me today, and have a lovely day.
Yeah. All right. I remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Also, our WhatsApp number is displayed on your screen. To find out up-to-date stories, you can go to our website, www.vanguardindia.com, to find out more. Thank God it's Friday, and thank you